Alright guys, the 2023 Dutch Grand Prix has come and gone. Max Verstappen has officially tied the record for most race wins in a row. If you can't tell, I'm still recovering from being sick, from traveling the last week and visiting my family, so this is going to be a really short race recap and race review. It was a wild Dutch Grand Prix. Let's go ahead, let's jump on into it and start off with our very quick hits. Let's go ahead, jump straight into our quick hits for the Dutch GP, and they're going to be extra quick because, like I mentioned, I am struggling in the nasal department. But like I mentioned in the beginning, Max Verstappen officially ties the record for most race wins in a row at 9, tying Sebastian Vettel's Red Bull record. Congratulations to Max. Winning your home race must be a fantastic feeling, but it's a feeling he's getting used to at this point, winning 9 in a row. And Red Bull has won every single race so far this year. So everyone's trying to catch Red Bull. We'll see if anyone else can manage. Fernando Alonso back on the podium once again, finishing P2 in this one in a very wild race. I don't know if we fully comprehended the fact that that was a wild race from the downpour in lap 1 to the downpour once again we saw with about 10 laps remaining. It was crazy, but Fernando Alonso powered through masterfully and finishes on the podium once again at a track I think a lot we're expecting Aston Martin to do pretty well. And Fernando proves them right, putting it on the podium. Pierre Gasly puts it on the podium as well, and a double points finish for Alpine has to be rewarded in turn. They have had a lot of struggles throughout this season, and a double podium finish, double podium. I wish it was a double podium. That would have been very exciting. A double points finish, including a podium finish for Pierre Gasly. Congrats, Pierre. I believe I saw that was his first podium since 2021. So go on the lad, go on Pierre. Fantastic finish for the Frenchman. Ferrari and Mercedes all over the place this weekend. Whether or not they're off the pace or making absolutely wild strategy blunders, were all over the place. And I don't even know what to say about those two right now. While Red Bull is just silently chugging along masterfully, they are, the two of them are really struggling, and they really need to get their stuff together if they're going to challenge for each other for P2 in the Constructors is all said and done. McLaren double points after a wild weather race is decent. They really kind of got held out in the beginning of the race due to some odd decisions on how long to wait on pitting, but at the end, a double points finish for McLaren at a track not many thought they might do well at. I mean, that's a win for them as they continue to push on. Special shout out to Alex Albon, a second row start for the Thai lad. What a qualifying performance from both Williams. Logan Sargent also making it into Q3 for the first time in his F1 career. Unfortunately, he had a hydraulic failure in the race, which ended up causing a crash in the race, and it's very unlucky for him. I was very disappointed to see him go out like that. But Alex Albon absolutely smashed it, getting 4 more points for Williams this year at a track not many thought the Williams would look good, but I tell you what, they looked more than good. They actually looked pretty great, all things considered. And the fact that it really just took 2 massive downpours to really shake things up, but Alex Albon still finishes P8. That's a very big win for them. And then lastly, I'll give a special shout out to Liam Lawson for finishing P13 in his opening F1 debut race in Zandvoort. He was thrown into the fire quite literally with basically one day's prep. And the dude absolutely smashed it. A wild race with changing additions and anything you could possibly think of. To finish P13 on track is very good. Congratulations, Liam. And it's come out since that he's going to be remaining in the car while Daniel recovers from a successful hand surgery. So what a wild race to be your F1 opener. But he better stay focused because it's Monza next week. Let's go ahead and move on now to my weekend winners and losers. But first, if you are enjoying the content both in IRL F1 or in video game F1 world, go ahead, hit that subscribe button down below. We're on the push to increase that follower count. We're nearing 100 subs on the channel. And let me know down below what you thought of the Dutch Grand Prix out of 5. Give it a rating and let me know what you thought of this year's race around Zandvoort. But now let's move on to our weekend winners and losers. All right, let's quickly go through our weekend winners and losers. I think they're both pretty obvious if we do say so ourselves. I mean, so we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on it. Obviously, the big winner is Pierre Gasly finishing on the podium around Zandvoort, starting P12, ending up on the podium, pretty much makes you the winner by default. Alpine has had some very high highs and some very low lows, but I tell you what, Pierre was rapid all day on Sunday, and he really, really deserved it, and he put himself in the position to finish on the podium, and he made the most of it. So congratulations, Pierre. You are my weekend winner for the Dutch Grand Prix. Moving on to the weekend loser. This one also feels pretty obvious. George Russell. Starting from the second row in the grid and finishing at the back of all the cars that actually finished the race is some extremely tough luck for the Brit. I mean, Mercedes strategy team is going to have a lot of answers after this one. They're going to have to answer some tough questions, I'm sure, but I don't know how they got it quite that wrong, but it was pretty, they put themselves behind the 8 ball pretty much from the jump by waiting so long to pit both of their drivers from slicks off after the absolute downpour at the beginning of the race. And by the time the race ended, it kind of was what it was, and George ended up at the back. So unfortunately, George, you are my weekend loser. And then last but not least, we have to go over the predictions I made before the race weekend began. And boy, oh boy, I'll give you a bit of a spoiler. It did not go well. Let's go ahead. Let's fly through this because talking this long has really aggravated my throat and I'm ready to be done. I'll start with my biggest positive surprise. I chose Mercedes, and I think that was pretty obvious from the beginning of the race or even qualifying that this was not going to go well. They had strategy issues all weekend, both in qualifying with Lewis as well as in the race, having George finish P17. Tough weekend for the Silver Arrows, and unfortunately, that's an 0-for-1 start for me in my predictions. And we'll roll straight into the biggest disappointment prediction, in which I said Alex Albon. I really didn't think the Williams was going to do that well around Zandvoort, and Alex did nothing but prove me wrong from the time the weekend started to the time it ended. And while, yes, he did fall back from the second row start all the way down to P8, but this is still a very chaotic race with a lot of wet weather and a Williams that really is known for being very slippery in a straight line. And you take it to Zandvoort, which is not known for that quite that much. And a points finish by Alex, I mean, that's a fantastic finish for Williams. So I am once again 0-for-1 on that one and 0-for-2 overall so far. But if we move on to my qualifying predictions, again, I was way off the pace. Charles Leclerc P3, Lewis Hamilton P2, and a Max Verstappen pole because, of course, I went 1-for-3 in qualifying. And the same story can be said for the race results, in which my podium prediction was a Max Verstappen win, a Lewis Hamilton P2, and a Lando Norris P3. Once again, 1-for-3, and almost couldn't have gotten any more wrong outside of the winner if I had tried. And then finally, we'll round out my predictions results with my Haas predictions of the race weekend. I predicted that there'd be 2 cars into Q2. We were close, so a half point there. 1 car into Q3. Never really ended up anywhere close to that one, so no points on that one. And a close to a points finish. We ended up finishing, our highest finishing order was on P12. So I gave myself a half point because it is a close to a points finish. It's pretty good for us, and so I needed to give myself some points, so I gave myself a half point there. So I went, after it's all added up, 1-for-3 in my Haas predictions as well, bringing my grand total, count them up, drum roll, 3-for-11 this weekend. Thankfully, I have an opportunity to redeem myself very quickly as Monza is coming up next weekend, and I know I'm excited, as we all are, for the Italian Grand Prix. It's always a fun one. But that said, the Dutch Grand Prix may have been one of the most exciting races we've seen this year, with just the amount of changeable conditions, the wet weather, and honestly, my predictions went out the window basically immediately, so I just got to enjoy it from start to finish. Sorry my energy wasn't super up in this one. Like I said, I am feeling it very hard right now. Hopefully I'll feel better by the time the predictions for Monza rolls around. You'll see those on Thursday here on the channel, and as always, we'll have the results for you after the race is over. But that's going to do it for me here. I cannot wait until next weekend. I love the Italian Grand Prix. Monza is one of my favorites to see. Just the high speedness of it. It's really very simple, and honestly, it's going to come down to who can make it stick when it matters the most. Keep an eye out on the socials or in the Discord. I'm debating on doing a qualifying watch along over there, and so keep an eye out for there, and it'll be live here on YouTube on this channel. But for now, if you enjoy the content, go ahead, hit that subscribe button down below, and let me know what your thoughts are on the Dutch Grand Prix down below, and give it a rating out of 5. For now, that'll do it for me in this one, guys, and so I'll see you in the next one.